There are moments in life when love feels like the most powerful force in the world. Love can make people generous. Love can make people hopeful. And sometimes, love can make people do things they never imagined they would do. But what happens when love is placed in the wrong hands? This is the story of John, a young man whose life changed forever because he trusted someone he loved. John was a young motorcycle mechanic apprentice in a busy town. Every morning, before the sun fully rose, he would already be at the workshop sweeping the ground, arranging tools, and preparing for the day's work. The workshop belonged to a man everyone simply called Master Okeke. Master Okeke was known as a strict but fair man. He had trained many apprentices over the years, and many of them had gone on to open their own workshops. But among all the boys learning under him, one person stood out: John. John was quiet, hardworking, and respectful. He never argued, he never complained, and he always made sure the work given to him was done properly. Because of this, Master Okeke trusted him more than the other apprentices. If money needed to be sent somewhere, John was the one asked to handle it. If a customer brought an expensive motorcycle, John was the one trusted to work on it carefully. The other apprentices sometimes joked about it. They would say, John is the boss's favorite. But John never allowed it to get into his head. He simply focused on his work and kept moving forward. John also had someone very special in his life. Her name was Sonia. Sonia was beautiful, smart, and ambitious. She had dreams that went beyond the small town where they lived. She wanted to go to the university. When she spoke about her future, her eyes would light up with excitement, and John loved listening to her talk. Even though John had not gone far in school, he admired Sonia's determination. He believed education would open doors for her that he never had, so he supported her in every way he could. Sometimes, he would save part of his small allowance just to help her buy books or pay for forms. When Sonia needed transport money to attend certain classes or programs, John would find a way to help. His friends sometimes laughed at him. They would say, John, you are training someone else's wife. But to John, Sonia was not someone else's wife. She was the woman he loved, and he believed one day they would build a life together. For a long time, everything seemed fine. Their relationship was smooth. Sonia spoke kindly to him. She thanked him for supporting her dreams. Sometimes she even promised him that when she finished school and became successful, she would never forget her sacrifices. John believed every word. Then one evening, something happened that changed everything. John was still at the workshop when his phone started ringing. It was Sonia. He quickly wiped the grease from his hands and answered the call. But immediately, he noticed something strange. Sonia was crying. Her voice was shaky and filled with panic. John, something terrible has happened. John's heart started beating faster. What is it? He asked nervously. Sonia explained that her aunt had suddenly fallen very sick. According to her, the doctors had discovered a serious kidney problem. The situation was urgent. The family had been told that the only way to save the aunt's life was to take her abroad for treatment. But the cost was enormous. They needed millions of naira. Sonia continued crying as she spoke. She said the family had tried everything, but they could not raise enough money. John, if something is not done quickly, my aunt may die. John felt helpless. He loved Sonia deeply, and hearing her cry broke his heart. For the next few days, Sonia kept calling him, updating him about the situation. Each time she sounded more desperate. She said the hospital had given them only a short time to gather the money. The pressure began to build inside John's mind. He wanted to help, but where would he find such a huge amount of money? Then one afternoon, while Master Okeke was away, John noticed something. There was a large amount of cash in the office. It belonged to the workshop. The money had been paid by a customer for a major motorcycle supply order. John stared at the money for a long time. His mind was racing. He knew the money was not his. He knew touching it would be wrong. But Sonia's voice kept echoing in his head. "My aunt may die. Please help me." He walked away, but the thought refused to leave him. Later that night, Sonia called again. She was crying harder than before. She said the doctors were already preparing to discharge the aunt because the family could not pay. John felt trapped between two choices: doing nothing or doing something terrible. Love clouded his judgment, and that night, John made the worst decision of his life. He took 5 million naira from the workshop money. With shaking hands, he sent the money to Sonia. When the transfer was complete, he sat quietly in his room staring at the wall. Part of him felt relief, but another part of him felt a deep fear growing inside. 2 days later, disaster arrived. Master Okeke discovered that the money was missing. The entire workshop was thrown into confusion. All the apprentices were questioned, but it didn't take long for the truth to come out. John was the last person near the office. When Master Okeke confronted him, John could not lie. He admitted everything. The anger in the workshop that day was intense. Master Okeke was furious. He shouted and threatened to call the police immediately. Stealing 5 million naira was a serious crime. Some people from the neighborhood gathered and began to plead for mercy. They reminded Master Okeke that John had always been a good boy. After a long and heated discussion, Master Okeke made a decision. He would not send John to prison, but John could never return to the workshop again. In one moment, John lost everything: his job, his reputation, and the trust people once had in him. The other apprentices looked at him with disappointment. Some shook their heads, others whispered among themselves. John walked away from the workshop feeling like his entire world had collapsed. But the pain did not end there. When John tried to call Sonia, something strange happened. His phone was not going through. He tried again later. Still nothing. He sent messages, no reply. Days turned into weeks. Sonia completely disappeared. Then the truth slowly began to surface. People started hearing rumors. Someone eventually confirmed it. Sonia's aunt had never been sick. There was no kidney problem. The story had been completely fabricated. The money John stole was used for something else. Sonia had been trying to travel abroad. Someone had promised her a visa and asked for money to process everything. She believed the opportunity would change her life forever. But in the end, the person who promised the visa also disappeared with the money. Sonia had been scammed, just like John. But the difference was that John had already destroyed his life trying to help her. Shame began to follow John everywhere. People talked about him in the streets. His friends mocked him. Some said he was foolish, others said he deserved what happened. Unable to face the embarrassment anymore, John made a painful decision. He left the town and returned to his village. Life there was quiet, but the silence gave him too much time to think. Every day he replayed the events in his mind. If only he had said no. If only he had thought more carefully. But regrets could not change the past. Meanwhile, Sonia's life was also falling apart. Without the money and without the promised visa, she began to struggle. She went to different places looking for help. She went to prayer houses, she spoke to pastors and spiritual leaders. Strangely, many of them told her the same thing. Go back and make peace with the person you wronged. At first, she ignored the advice, but eventually the guilt became too heavy. She decided to find John. After asking many people, she discovered he had gone back to his village. She was afraid to face him alone, so she asked another woman to accompany her. The woman believed she understood the situation, but she did not know the full story. When they finally arrived in the village, they located John. He looked different. Life had changed him. There was a quiet sadness in his eyes. Sonia struggled to speak at first, but eventually she confessed everything. She admitted that the story about her aunt had been a lie. She admitted that she used his love to manipulate him. She admitted that her actions had destroyed his life. The woman who came with her was shocked. She had never heard the full story before. After Sonia finished speaking, there was a long silence. John listened carefully, but his face showed little emotion. Finally, he spoke. He said her confession did not change anything. If the visa plan had succeeded, she would never have come back. She only returned because things had failed. Her apology came from disappointment, not true regret. The woman who accompanied Sonia slowly nodded. She also told Sonia that her actions were driven by selfishness. John had paid a very heavy price for trusting the wrong person. Some wounds in life cannot be easily healed, and some mistakes cannot be reversed. That day, Sonia realized something painful. Love should never be used as a weapon, because the damage it causes can destroy lives forever. And John, a young man who once had a promising future, was now forced to rebuild his life from the ashes of a decision made in the name of love.